Okay, so ever wish you could just get the essential download on one of history's most influential tech? Grasp the core insights, the really surprising stories without getting bogged down in, everything.
Yeah, sort of cut straight to the chase, find the aha moment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, that's our goal. We're taking a journey through a curated selection of sources from the Old Testament.
It's quite the landscape to cover.
It is. And our mission for you, our listener, is basically to pull out those key nuggets of knowledge. We're going from creation through ancient law, the drama of kings, prophets, the whole sweep.
And crucially, this isn't just, an ancient history lesson.
No, not at all. It's about understanding these deep currents, the ideas that have really shaped thought, culture, faith, stuff that helps make sense of a lot.
Giving you those connections that make you feel truly well-informed.
That's the plan.
Okay,
let's dive in. We're starting right at the beginning. Part 1, the world origin, humanity's early story. Our sources jump right into the sheer power of creation. We hear about God bringing forth living creature after its kind on day 5. But then there's this really profound statement.
Let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion.
Right. And that link being made in God's image and having dominion, what's the significance there? Is it just about being in charge?
Well, not exactly in charge like a tyrant. It seems to be much more about a unique status tied to responsibility. Being in God's image elevates humanity, but that dominion part, it's framed as a kind of sacred trust.
So like stewardship.
Precisely. A responsibility for creation, flowing directly from that unique relationship with the Creator. It's a foundational ethical idea, really. You see echoes of it even in modern environmental thought.
Interesting. Okay, so after creation, we get the story of Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
Humanity's first big choices and the consequences. Wow, they ripple outwards, don't they?
They really do. And Eve gets this title, the mother of all living, which is just packed with significance for everything that follows.
But their choice, choosing to know good and evil, leads immediately to expulsion. And the reason given is fascinating. Lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Why was preventing immortality in that state so critical?
It's actually presented as a kind of grim mercy, in a way. If they lived forever, having chosen alienation from God, having embraced evil, that broken state would be permanent, immortalized suffering, essentially.
Ah, I see. So expulsion prevents an even worse fate.
That seems to be the implication. But then, right alongside that judgment, you get this really unexpected detail.
The garments of skins.
Yes. The Lord God makes them clothes. It's not just practical. Something had to die to provide those skins. It's a costly act of, compassion maybe, even protection.
Wow. Yeah, that is striking. A hint of sacrifice, perhaps, even that early on.
It certainly points towards future themes, even amidst the consequences.
Okay, so this leads us to another huge foundational event, the flood. A world essentially renewed. The sources describe it as just, immense. Waters prevailed exceedingly, covering all the high mountains.
It's presented as a complete undoing. A return to watery chaos. All flesh perished. All in whose nostrils was the breath. The scale is
a total reset.
A total reset. But interestingly, amidst this massive destruction, there's also this incredible precision noted in the text.
How so?
The timing. Noah and his family emerged from the ark on a very specific day, the 7th and 20th day of the second.
Why note that detail?
It seems to emphasize that this isn't just random chaos. Even in this overwhelming judgment, there's an order, a divine plan unfolding. It points to preservation alongside destruction, an intention to continue creation.
Okay, it controlled demolition in a sense, leading to a new beginning.
You could put it that way, yeah, guided towards renewal.
All right, so from these really foundational world events, we shift focus a bit, moving into the era of the patriarch, Abraham, Jacob, Joseph. Stories full of promises, some puzzling moments, and a lot of persistence.
Definitely.
Let's start with Abraham. God makes these huge promises to him, particularly about land. And it's not vague, is it?
No, it's incredibly specific. The text lists out peoples, Canaanite and the Kenizzite and the Cadmonite and the Hittite, and it sets geographical boundaries all the way to the Great River, the River Euphrates.
What does that level of detail signify?
It frames it almost like a legal grant, a binding covenant. This isn't just a general "you'll be blessed." It's a concrete promise tied to specific land and a future nation. It anchors the divine promise in tangible reality.
But it's not smooth sailing for a person. There's the whole struggle with Sarai, Hagar, leading to Ishmael.
Right. And the text is quite candid about the complexity. The prophecy about Ishmael being a wild ass of a man, his hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. It shows that divine plans unfold amidst very real, often difficult human situations and their consequences.
No easy answers there. Okay, then Jacob. His story is full of drama, isn't it? The whole thing with Esau stealing the blessing.
Oh, absolutely. Isaac intends to bless Esau with the fat places of the earth, but Jacob intercepts it, leading to Esau's bitter hate, high family drama.
But Jacob also has this profound divine encounter, the Bethel dream, the ladder to heaven.
Yes, a pivotal moment where he vows a vow, recognizing God's presence. But he remains a complex character. Look at his dealings with Laban.
Right. Laban keeps changing his wages 10 times, the text says. Yeah. And Jacob resorts to some pretty creative animal husbandry to get ahead.
Exactly. Using those striped rods of fresh poplar and of the almond and of the plane tree to influence the flock. It's this fascinating mix. Jacob can be deceitful, manipulative even, yet he's also the recipient of this incredible divine promise.
So how does that work? His cleverness, even his flaws within God's plan.
It suggests that the divine plan often works through and sometimes despite human failing. Jacob's cleverness helps him survive and ultimately thrive against Laban's injustice, but it's all still framed within that larger covenant promise initiated at Bethel. God uses imperfect.
That's a recurring theme, it seems. Okay, let's round out the patriarchs with Joseph. His journey is just incredible. Resilience, forgiveness.
A truly remarkable arc. From being sold into slavery by his own brothers, whom he sold into Egypt, to becoming incredibly powerful, a father to Pharaoh and lord of all his house.
The turnaround is astonishing. But what's maybe even more astonishing is his perspective on it all.
Absolutely. That's the core insight. When he finally reveals himself to his brothers, he says, God did send me before you to preserve life. It was not you that sent me hither, but God.
Wow. To reframe betrayal like that.
It's profound. He doesn't minimize their wrongdoing, but he sees a larger divine purpose woven through his suffering. It transforms the meaning of everything he went through. It's forgiveness, yes, but it's also this radical reinterpretation of event faith.
A powerful lesson in finding meaning, even in terrible circumstances.
Yeah.
Okay, Joseph's story sets the stage for the Israelites being in Egypt, which leads us to our next major section, divine law and wilderness journey.
The Exodus narrative, foundational.
It starts with Moses, another reluctant leader. Burning bush encounter is iconic. God identifies himself. I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham.
A direct link back to those patriarchal promises.
But Moses' reaction is pure humility, or maybe fear. I am not eloquent, he says. Basically, I can't do this.
It's very human, isn't it? Standing before the divine, feeling inadequate. But what's fascinating is God's response. He doesn't just say, tough luck, do it anyway.
No, he provides Aaron, his brother, to be his spokesperson.
Exactly. It shows God working with Moses' limitations, accommodating his weakness to achieve the divine purpose. And that purpose is stated so clearly. I have surely seen the affliction of my people that are in Egypt. It's rooted in compassion.
That compassion then leads to this dramatic deliverance centered around the Passover. The instructions are so specific.
Incredibly detailed. Take you lambs according to your families. Strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood. Every step is laid out.
Why such meticulous detail for this ritual?
It seems to underscore the gravity and the intentionality of the moment. This isn't accidental. Adherence to these specific instructions is directly linked to their protection when the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. It's a matter of life and death, enacted through ritual.
And the result is freedom. Pharaoh practically begs them to leave.
Yes, and their escape is immediately memorialized in the Song of the Sea, that triumphant declaration, Pharaoh's chariots and his host hath he cast. It becomes a defining moment of their collective identity, God as their deliverer.
But freedom doesn't mean ease. Life in the wilderness is tough, and the people complain a lot.
Constantly, they murmured against Moses and against Aaron, even saying they missed the flesh pots of Egypt, forgetting their slavery quite quickly.
Human nature, I suppose. Yet God provides water from a rock in Horeb, manna.
Sustenance in the midst of scarcity. But then comes the arrival at Mount Sinai, and the description is just intense.
Mount Sinai was altogether on smoke because the Lord descended upon it in fire.
It sounds terrifying and awe-inspiring.
Absolutely meant to convey the overwhelming presence and power of God. And it's here, in this dramatic setting, that the law is given. Not just the 10 Commandments, but a whole body of legislation.
And it covers some surprisingly mundane things too, right? Alongside the big moral commands.
Oh, yes. It's incredibly comprehensive. You have laws about restitution if your ox falls into your neighbor's pit, for example. Very practical day-to-day stuff.
What does that tell us? God cares huckles slightly. Well, yes, in a way. It shows that the covenant, the relationship with God, wasn't meant to be compartmentalized. It was supposed to shape every aspect of their life together. Social interactions, economics, justice, everything. Holiness wasn't just for temple.
And there was even this practical element about not driving out the existing nations all at once. Something about a hornet.
Right. The text mentions God sending the hornet ahead gradually so the land wouldn't become desolate before the Israelites could fully occupy. It shows a kind of pragmatic pacing even within the divine plan, a concern for ecological and social balance.
Okay, let's dig a bit deeper into that idea of holiness permeating life. Ritual, holiness, and social order. The tabernacle instructions are incredibly detailed.
Extremely detailed. The specific materials, gold, silver, fine linen, acacia wood, ram skins dyed red, the precise construction of the candlestick, the table,
And the priestly garments for Aaron. So specific.
yes, and the complex rituals for consecrating the priest. It all emphasizes the immense sacredness of the space and the intermediary. Access to God required careful preparation, specific state of ritual purity. It underlines the otherness of the divine.
And this emphasis on holiness spills out into daily life beyond the tabernacle.
Absolutely. The dietary laws, for instance, listing unclean animals like the lizard and the gecko and the land crocodile. It seems strange to us, maybe, but it was part of defining them as a distinct people.
Setting them apart.
Setting them apart, yes, governed by this call. Sanctify yourselves, therefore, and be ye holy, for I am. Everyday actions became markers of identity and obedience. Eating, hygiene, social justice, it was all part of living out the covenant.
And the consequences for breaking these rules could be severe.
Very severe. Stoning for blasphemy, being childless as a consequence from prohibited relationship. The stakes of the covenant were incredibly high, touching every part of life.
But it wasn't all just rules and punishment. There were also warnings, but matched with future hopes. Leviticus contains some really stark warnings.
Incredibly stark. Disobedience leading to the heavens becoming like iron, the earth like brass, crop failure, defeat, exile, even, horrifyingly, cannibalism in the extremity of siege. You shall eat the flesh of your sons. It's brutal.
Chilling, but that's not the final word.
No, definitely not. Counterbalancing these dire warnings is the constant reiteration of the promise. The good land, a land of brooks of water, wheat and barley, and vines and figs, a vision of abundance and blessing.
And the key to reaching that hope
Seems to be faithfulness, and crucially passing on the knowledge. The instruction to teach them your children is repeated. It's about generational faithfulness, ensuring the covenant endures beyond individuals.
Okay, that brings us to part 3. Kings, prophets, and the cycle of destiny. The Israelites eventually want a king.
Yes, they ask Samuel for a king, explicitly saying that we also may be like all them.
Which sounds like a step backwards, mate, wanting to be like everyone else.
Well, God, through Samuel, seems reluctant. He warns them what having a king will entail: conscription, taxes, loss of freedom. But he grants their request.
And the first king, Saul, it doesn't go well for long.
Almost immediately, there's tension. God says, "It repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he has turned back from following." It highlights the inherent dangers of this desire to emulate other nations rather than trusting God's direct guidance.
Setting a pattern, perhaps. Then comes David, a hugely important figure called a man after God's own heart.
Right. Famous for defeating Goliath. I come to be in the name of the Lord of hosts. And his deep bond with Jonathan is legendary.
But he's also deeply flawed, isn't he? His actions concerning Bathsheba and Uriah, his flight from Saul, his troubled family life, the conflict with Joab.
Absolutely. The texts don't sanitize him at all. We see his failures, his manipulations, his grief, like his mourning for his rebellious son Absalom. Is it well with the young man Raw?
So how does that square? Man after God's own heart and these significant moral failures.
It seems the key isn't flawlessness, but perhaps his capacity for repentance, his deep reliance on God despite his sin, and his ultimate commitment. His story explores that complex space, divine call.
Complex legacy.
Yeah.
And after David comes Solomon, his son, known for wisdom, incredible wealth.
Unparalleled according to the source. Riches and wisdom exceeding all other kings. He builds the magnificent temple, huge dimensions, lavish material. He even has this trading fleet, the Navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes, peacocks.
The height of Israel's power and prestige.
But his heart turned away. That's the tragedy. Despite the wisdom, despite the blessings, he compromised, building high places for Chemosh, Molech, many foreign wives, led astray by.
So even the wisest can fall. Cautionary tale.
A profound. It shows that wisdom and riches are no guarantee. Prioritizing political alliance, personal desires over faith of God. Decline. A divided heart under.
Alongside the kings, we have the prophet. These are fascinating figures, often confronting power.
Yes, figures like Elijah, his dramatic confrontation with the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel, but also his experience at Horeb, not in the wind, earthquake, or fire, but in the still small voice.
That's such a powerful image. God speaking quietly.
It suggests divine communication isn't always spectacular. And then Elisha, his successor, performing miracles like healing Naaman the Syrian or using prophetic insight to warn the Israelite king about Aram's military.
So what was the prophet's main role? Were they just predicting the future?
Much more than that. They were primarily covenant enforcers, calling kings backfulness. They were conduits for God's direct messages, often challenging the status quo, speaking truth to power, regardless of the personal cost. They were the nation's conscience in a way.
But their warnings often went unheeded. leading to this cycle of disobedience and eventually exile.
Sadly, yes. Prophets like Jeremiah lamented this, saying things like, "The prophets prophesy lies in my name, I sent them not. They warned of the consequences."
And those consequences came.
They did. Jeremiah's prophecy unfolds. The whole land shall be desolate. Though he adds, "Yet will I not make a full end." There's always that remnant of hope. But the judgment was severe. The destruction of Jerusalem, the burning of the temple, the king's house.
And the deportation of the people, including King Zedekiah, blinded and bound in fetters, devastating.
Utterly devastating. A fulfillment of those covenant curses warned about way back in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. A demonstration of the serious consequences of persistence.
Yet even in exile, even after all that loss, the prophetic voice offers hope, visions of restoration.
Astonishing visions, really. Ezekiel's vision of the Valley of Dry Bones is perhaps the most famous.
Right, where the bones represent the whole house of Israel, seemingly dead and without hope.
Exactly. And God commands Ezekiel to prophesy to them, and breath enters them, and they live again. It's this incredible symbol of national resurrection powered by God's Spirit.
So restoration is possible, even from complete desolation.
That's the promise. It's not just about returning physically from being scattered from among. It's about spiritual renewal, God putting his Spirit within, rebuilding the religion, promising my sanctuary in the midst of them forever. Hope in...
That hope brings us to our final section, part 4, Echoes of Wisdom and Hope. Here, the focus seems to shift sometimes from the grand national narrative to more personal piety.
Yes, particularly in texts like the Psalms, you get passages like Psalm 1, blessing the person that hath not walked in the counsel of the wicked, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day.
That feels very different from national battles or temple rituals. It's internal, personal.
It absolutely is. It shifts the locus of faithfulness inward to individual devotion, meditation, finding joy and stability in a personal relationship with God's wisdom and instruction. It complements the communal aspect, personal dimension.
The Psalms are also incredible for capturing the full range of human emotion and experience before God, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. They soar with praises of God's cosmic power. The heavens declare the glory of God. By the word of the Lord were the heavens made. But they also plunge into the depths of despair and vulnerability.
Like a psalmist saying, I am a worm and no man. Such raw honesty.
Exactly. And yet, even in that vulnerability, there's often a turn towards trust. The invitation to cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he will sustain. It holds both the majesty of God and the fragility of humanity intent, offering a space on it.
And looking towards the future again, towards just redemption, the prophets offer some powerful summaries of God's character. Micah.
Yes, Micah's famous question. Who is a God like unto thee that pardoneth the iniquity, passeth by the transgression of the remnant?
Highlighting God's uniqueness and forgiveness.
Precise. And it continues. He retaineth not his anger forever, because he delighteth in mercy. This emphasizes mercy not just as an action, but as part of God's very nature. Life. It offers profound hope for restoration based on God's character, not human merit.
And finally, what's the ultimate vision? Where's all this heading? Zechariah gives us a picture.
He speaks of a future Jerusalem where God promises, my cities shall again overflow with prosperity, and the Lord shall yet comfort Zion and shall yet choose. It's a vision of renewed blessing and divine.
But is it just about Jerusalem's prosperity?
It seems to point beyond that. The ultimate goal isn't just restoration for Israel, but potentially Israel becoming a blessing, a fulfillment of the earliest promises to Abraham, suggesting a purpose that extends universe, spiritual transformation with global.
Now, okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this journey mean? We've covered so much ground. Creation, covenants, law, kings, failure, exile, hope.
It's a vast and complex tapestry, isn't it? We've seen these recurring cycles of human-divine interaction, the tension between promise, failure, judgment, and mercy. There's a surprising consistency in depicting both human nature, our tendencies towards rebellion, but also our capacity, faith, and the divine character.
And these themes, they still resonate, don't they? Obedience, rebellion, justice, mercy, leadership, vulnerability.
Absolutely. They offer deep insights into foundational ethical challenges of power, complexities of faith, and that enduring human search for meaning, for connection with something larger than ourselves. These ancient stories still speak powerfully to the human.
So for you, our listeners, as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider this. How do these ancient cycles promise, struggle, failure, restoration? How do they challenge or inform your own understanding of hope and despair, both personally and in the world around you?
And perhaps where do you see the dry bones of today's situations that seem utterly hopeless, waiting maybe for a breath of new life, for a possibility?
Lots to think about. Go forth and keep diving.